Hi YouTube, Darth here. This is Over Your Shoulder, a series where I follow unsuspecting players and give unsolicited advice. To break up the hardline telethon this week, I've got a round of Battlefield 4 on Siege of Shanghai. Today's victim is Acucats, a level 140 with some great stats. In the previous round, he went 25-1 and led his team to victory. As I follow over Acucats' shoulder today, I'll call out all the good stuff, the bad stuff, and the things I might do differently. So let's look over Acucats' shoulder. Alright, looks like we're riding around in a tank with Acucats. He went 25-1 in the last round, so I expect to learn something this round. We've got AP Shell, Coaxial HMG, Thermal Camo, interesting, Active Protection, and Thermal Optics. This is a fairly decent setup for this particular map. Siege of Shanghai has quite a bit of infantry action, so the AP Shell is going to come in handy for killing people that are behind a wall. It's not a bad idea to focus on the water here while you're capturing A as the American team, because the Chinese do like to come up from the water from time to time. Currently just finishing up capturing this point. Let's take a look at what the optic situation we got going on here. It looks like we're using the FLIR optic, which is actually a really good choice post-fall patch. Between this and IRNV, this is actually a much better choice. You'll note that all the game objects stand out as white hot. That makes them easier to spot. Taking a look at the tabletop, looks like we're going to have the customary tank-on-tank action that we get here in front of the building. Usually my tactic on this map is to do an end run over to Echo, so I'm kind of curious to see how this plays out for these guys. We get some support from both tanks here. This should be pretty easy to take out. This guy doesn't see either of them. I'm going to switch to third person just so we can see this battle a little bit easier. First tank gets taken out. The rest of the armor not really paying attention to what's going on here. This tank is going to get taken out relatively shortly here. Looks like the LAV on the right side got taken out. Oh, C4, we don't see it. Oh, this is going to be a quick run for this tank, and kaboom. Alright, looks like we were waiting on the tank. Let's see what's going on the tabletop real quick here. The Chinese team is in control of most of the map, but it looks like the US team is making a push on Delta. Score is relatively even still, only about a 50-point difference. A big mistake the teams make is to focus on Charlie when it's much better to focus on the other 2 points on the enemy side. Doing a good job of looking around, making sure there's nobody on the rooftops to give us a little bit of surprise. Acucats demonstrated in that last life why it's important to have a gunner who is active and not looking in your general direction. Simply because that gives you an opportunity to get those saves in from those C4 guys that would have otherwise killed you, just like it did in Acucats' case. My thought on the matter here is, because I see so many guys on that mini-map, that I'd probably start thinking about taking this building down. I know a lot of people are like, oh, the map's ruined when you take down the building. No, it's actually a really good idea if C is being controlled by the enemy team. It looks like Acucats is doing exactly that. It looks like they're not going to stand for it, though, and they're going to start trying to rain down a little bit of munition on them. Looks like we could be having the building come down. A lot of people just parachuted off, although I don't think it's even ready yet to come down. I'm going to have to keep an eye out here for this infantry that's come down. You can see at least one on the mini-map. We've lost him. Searching with the HMG, we have 2 people looking in the same direction right now. This could be trouble if a C4 appears. Hopefully it doesn't. We've got a little bit of infantry now. Now we've got a gunner, so we probably should be set pretty well. I might be switching to the third person a little bit more with this tank just because he's running the IRNV and it's a little bit easier to see what's going on. If you can get used to it, one of the things I do like to do is switch to third person fairly often in the tank when I'm capturing a point in particular, because it's harder to see when infantry are running up on you. Doesn't take the shot there, waits for him to be able to get behind him so he can take that nice rear shot in the tank. Remember that you get usually about a 50 damage on a tank when you're shooting from behind with an RPG or other rocket or shell, simply because that straight shot on the back does more damage than any other side. This would be a good opportunity to try and steal that tank if he can. Doesn't appear like he wants to. I would probably be telling my gunner right now, you should get out and steal that tank. If I were the gunner, I would get out and steal that tank for sure. Whenever you can get an opportunity to take the enemy's armor away from them, it makes it a lot easier to win on your side, because that's a 1 armor swing that might actually be their base armor, and that's a huge swing right here. Now we're in a little bit of trouble when we're backing off with that APS. Good timing there, sort of accidental with that attack helicopter coming in. Now we're in trouble because that tank behind him got occupied by an enemy. Really would be kind of angry with my teammates at that point, or myself for not having blown it up if it's not occupied. And that right there is a really good example of why you don't leave empty vehicles sitting around and why it's a good idea to take over enemy vehicles if you get the chance. So far so good for Acucats. Let's take a look at the tabletop, see what's going on. Looks like the US team is now in a commanding position of 4 points of the map, except for Charlie. That tank over there is still available for anybody that wants to take it. I've probably taken an easy shot on this guy and take the tank right back. Probably could have saved ourselves some trouble earlier on if we had just done that to begin with. Thankfully, for whatever reason, the enemy team decided not to hold on to it after they had grabbed it, got out of it, and grabbed it again. Looks like the Chinese team is making the mistake of putting all their eggs in the Charlie basket. Looks like there's some C4 raining down over there at Alpha. I'd probably stick clear of that. Probably what I'd be thinking of doing right now is getting up in that elevator and taking it all the way to the top of Charlie, see if I can rain down a little bit of fun on the enemy team. Although it looks like that transport helicopter from the mini-map is in the corner you need to be on, so if he goes into these close elevators, he might have a minigunner waiting to shoot him in the face. We'll just have to see. It'd probably be a more prudent maneuver to take one of the other elevators instead, but we'll see how this goes. Looks like he's prepared for that possibility. He's got his rocket launcher out. It's not going to be an instant shot to kill the transport helicopter. Looks like they were waiting for him in great supply. And we're back with Acucats. Looks like we are taking the gunner position on the Viper. No, we are driving it. So what we got here, the Hydra rockets, heat seeker, air radar, AR flares. This is a pretty typical setup for an attack helicopter. You've got the air radar to see when the enemy attack helicopter is coming. You got the heat seekers to deal with it. You got the IR flares to drop any locks that happen on you. This is a pretty good setup for when you're able to weave in between buildings. Personally, I like the ACM, but it's really anybody's choice there. I've seen people do equally well with both of them. It looks like we got a lock on and we are looking for the source currently. I probably wouldn't be flying quite this low. The problems like that happen and you may in fact lose the chopper to simply running into a building. Looks like we got a fair bit of action up here on top of the building. Teammate took the helicopter back into the sky. A little bit of lost opportunity there. Gonna try and take an elevator ride. Nope, teammates took it first. I can guarantee that those teammates are going to be running into an awful surprise up top. Right now, looking at the tabletop, I would probably be thinking about trying to take down C or take C. It might be easier to just take it down at this point because there was an entire squad camping the top of that elevator, so you might not have so much luck trying to take it. Doing a little bit of swimming, that building may in fact be coming down here shortly. Probably want to get out of the way of this. It actually has a pretty wide swath of destruction and a kill radius. I don't know if that extends into the river, but I wouldn't want to stay here to find out. Taking a look at the team setup here, we still got most of the points in US Command. Only a 50-point lead here. Now that we've taken it, we can get on that point nice and easy. Take Charlie, and they have to run all the way from the street if they want to try and capture this back from the American team after they take it. So this is generally a good move that I like to make if I can't get into Charlie otherwise. It looks like this team is already moving it, so we're in pretty good shape here. Taking a look at all the spots that the parachuters from Charlie usually jump off to. Didn't see anybody up there. You do want to keep an eye out for all the parachuters that come down off the building, like rats from a sinking ship. Interesting choice of Stinger there. Let's take a look at what he's running here. It's the AK-5C with a Coyote tri-beam laser, flash hider, and a stubby grip. This is actually pretty decent for running on medium-range maps, just like Siege of Shanghai. Not having a whole lot going for him here. He's sort of just playing the objective and getting killed in the process. So back in the tank, rolling out of the start. He looks like we haven't changed anything with that setup. Where would I be taking this tank? I would be taking this tank to that space between Charlie and the road, simply to try to intercept anybody that's out there. I don't know why we're coming down to the parking garage. Maybe he's on TeamSpeak and got a call out about something. I don't see anything down here in particular. It doesn't look like there's anything on the God mode map. So let's see what we got going on here. This is also not a bad spot to pull up and try to do a little bit of damage. You actually have a pretty good vision on all the infantry at Charlie from either side here. Usually this is a little bit more protected because there's a couple of buildings you can get behind a bit quicker on the American side. But supporting infantry by pulling up to these railings is not a bad idea either. Looks like we thought we saw somebody down there, maybe not quite. Taking a pot shot, seeing if we can get somebody with the splash damage. Let's see if we're just chasing ghosts here. No, there is actually somebody over there, so he did see someone. Goes into the river. Nobody home on that shot. Gets out. I guess he's expecting him to come up that ladder pretty heavily. And there he was. Missed his shot. Now has to back off and consider what he wants to do. Now you can either get out and try your luck again, or you can simply just move on, which is what I would probably do in this case. No sense in just trying to wait out a single infantry. Yes, it can become an entire squad, but you've got plenty of guys back here to deal with that. I'd probably be trying to move on and catch another point or two. Looks like the U.S. team's efforts are finally paying off. We got 3 out of the 5 points, and we got about a 180-point lead now. Finally manages to catch that guy, or either his squad mate does, gets an assist on that one. Not a whole lot of action going on here right now for Acucats. Doing a good job of playing the objective, just not finding many enemies to kill in between. Looks like Alpha's being moved, so let's take a quick look there. Yep, we got a couple of enemies back there. Now it's time to do the 3-on-1 tank dance again. Plenty of infantry to help mess up these tanks on the Chinese side. Good choice in backing off and using the APS. Getting a little bit hairy there, especially with 37 health. You know, one more hit would have put you at a critical, and then you would have been killed by anything else that happened. Doing a good job of backing off from the action and making sure that we have a spot to repair it, and you always want to take your tanks to somewhere safe to get out and repair it. Ideally, you'll have a secondary gunner to cover you while you get out and repair, which Acucats is doing right now. I'm not really sure why Acucats didn't repair his tank to 80 or more, simply because we weren't being pressured and we had plenty of time to complete repairs. His team's in good shape, so might as well take that extra time. So, taking a look at what we got here, we still got that one tank there. Gets a good hit in on it right now. Probably another hit or two, yep, would kill it. You got to watch this spawn over here in the corner whenever you're pulling up with armor, because if you're not careful about it, you can find yourself facing your rear towards it, and that's an easy 2-shot for any set of engineers. Getting a few more rocket shots in from enemies. Duo pushing the tanks here, very helpful with American infantry support. Taking a look at the map, looks like we got that situation at A contained. Charlie's being pushed, but there's enough guys there that it's not going to matter. So it's really just a matter of slowly pushing in on Delta here and trying to take out the infantry that are supporting it. You can see that there's a ton here, but they're not particularly well spotted by our team yet. Needs to angle up quite a bit more to pull off that shot. Probably not going to get a crit in on the LAV in order to prevent him from peeking back inside. LAV doesn't respond, might get a few other easy shots here. Gunner's doing some good work. That corner again still continuing to produce infantry. Need to watch out or keep an eye on that, at least for one of these two guys. You can see that that gunner is pointing in the same direction as Acucats, so as an enemy, if you can get under this bridge and get around behind, it's not going to be a problem at all to kill both of them with C4 again. So it looks like we got some action going on here on the rooftop of Delta. That's not too surprising in the Siege of Shanghai. 300-point difference now between the U.S. and Chinese team, and it's probably going to remain that way for the remainder of the game. Gets a nice shot in on that tank. Looks like that's a front shot. I'd probably angle my tank here so I'm not facing at a 90-degree angle to the enemy. Getting a little bit of trouble there. Took a little bit more damage than he needed to. Possibly could have lost his tank pretty easily. It looks like somebody got in the tank and backed it up for him. Nice that they kept the tank in his hands. Definitely would be angling this tank if ever so slightly while pillaring. You want to try and present that 45-degree angle, not that 90-degree angle at your enemies while you're pillaring if you can. If you point that front right or front left corner at your enemy, you'll take way less damage than that 90-degree angle. You can actually listen to more about that in my Armored Warfare video, which I'll link in the comments below. Looks like Charlie is currently in contention, but with nobody on it, so it should be a pretty easy pickup for the Americans again. Maybe being a little bit too aggressive here, probably use that AP shell a little bit more. Easy shot on these armored vehicles, they're giving them the easy 90-degree angle. Going to take one out with assistance, and this next tank is going to get in deep trouble here. Oh, and we just take one too many hits. That tank again, unsurprisingly, it looks like we took a slam right there off the start. Good thing that they can only lay 3 now as opposed to 4, otherwise that would have been an instant kill on him. It looks like we're tracking down the source of some of the shenanigans. Comes up with that guy. Easy kill. Right now I'd probably be thinking about trying to get this thing to safety and then looking around for any other culprits here at the Alpha Point. This map is pretty well over, though, about a 440 point spread. It really got away from the Chinese team pretty quick once they started losing their back caps. Couldn't get much going for them. Again, having that tank swing in the middle also probably helped them some on the US team, simply because that's an easy, 4-5-3 armor advantage on this map. Being able to pull that much armor into your corral as opposed to the enemies makes this map a whole lot easier, and with a little bit of decent tanking too, that becomes an easy match to win. That's it for this round of Over Your Shoulder. Even star players have less than stellar rounds, and there wasn't a whole lot that Acucats could get going in this round. If I were to offer some advice to him based on this round, I think I'd try to get a little more in the midst of the action and consider what lanes the enemy is currently trying to push. That's good advice for anyone, as having a solid understanding of where enemies are or might be heading in a given circumstance makes it easy to rack up kills. This was kind of an oddly off round compared to the previous and what his stats indicate, so I'm not sure what was going on here. Anyway, that's it for this episode, and if you'd like to be featured in a future episode of Over Your Shoulder, be sure to send me a message on Facebook or Twitter, or leave your Battlelog information below. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time, YouTube.